want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the...
For most of the 23-24 college basketball season, it was the Houston Cougars, number one atop the national polls. They're coached by a North Carolina native in Kelvin Sampson, and now the Cougars get a chance to play against the most hated nemesis in all of college basketball, the Duke Blue Devils, right there in Dallas. This one, again, like the other games that we've talked about this week involving ACC teams, could be a real classic. What's your one big thing about the Cougars and the Blue Devils, David Glenn?
To me, it's a study in contrasts, Mike. Houston is old with a starting lineup consisting entirely of third, fourth, and fifth-year players. Duke is young with a starting lineup with the one senior, Jeremy Roach, surrounded by all freshmen and sophomores. More contrast. Houston is defense-oriented and extremely physical. This Duke team is much more offense-oriented. The Blue Devils are not bad defensively, just like the Cougars are not bad offensively. But the Devils, while defending the three-point line very well most of the time, they don't have that Sheldon Williams or Shane Battier or Mason Plumlee or most recently maybe a Mark Williams down low scaring the guards who dare to get into the Duke defensive paint area, something that Houston's guards do really well. Houston also is extremely physical, and the Blue Devils are not quite as physical overall, so how this game is officiated is going to matter a lot because Houston almost ran out of rotation players because of foul problems in that overtime game that they won against Texas A&M in the round of 32. The matchup of the game to me is going to be Duke's sophomore point guard Tyrese Proctor against Houston's All-American point guard Jamal Shead. Proctor had a very good game against James Madison. 18 points, 4 out of 10 three-pointers, 5 assists, only 1 turnover. And he's done a very good job of limiting his turnovers lately. But this will be his toughest assignment of the entire season, and that is not an exaggeration. I don't know how often they'll be matched face-to-face, head-to-head, but Jamal Shead, while only 6'1", that's what he's listed as, is a very muscular and very athletic 200 pounds. He was a first-team All-American, and get this, he was the first Big 12 player ever to be named both the Player of the Year and the Defensive Player of the Year. Here in ACC country, there are those occasional 6'1" guys who win Defensive Player of the Year. It doesn't happen often. It's usually a big guy or a big wing player. Jamal Shead does it all for the Houston Cougars. So my bottom line and my one thing is that Duke's guards have plenty of skills, but they will have to match the intensity, the toughness, and the production of Houston's older, more physical guards if the Blue Devils are going to come away with the victory. I am a better person and a more effective business owner for having known and learned from Emily Parks over many years now. Emily's company, Organize for Success, helps multi-passionate business owners and executives bring harmony to all the layers of their lives, from work to side projects, from friends and family to hobbies, community, and beyond. With Emily's help, you too can make every minute matter. She helps you determine what earns your time and how to efficiently accomplish what matters. One of the many things I love about Emily is that she does not impose her will on her clients. She listens to them. That way she can better help them cultivate the lives they want to live. You can set up a complimentary call with Emily today by visiting organizeforsuccess.com. That's organize, F-O-R, success.com.
Kyle Filipowski has been hot and cold as of late. What do you expect from him against the Cougars?
Well, they need him to be really, really good. They need – how many teams have a 7-foot guy who can initiate offense from the perimeter? He can also score down low. I mean, that's why he's going to be an NBA lottery pick, but he needs to be at his best. I didn't mind those who said, hey, he had his career low 3 points in the round of 64 because he did so many other things well and because he was double teamed so often. I have no problem with that point of view, but as you advance through the NCAA tournament, you do need your best players to be your most productive players. And Jared McCain now looks like at times an NBA lottery pick, the freshman guard who had a school record 8 NCAA tournament three-pointers as the Blue Devils advanced in the round of 32 over James Madison. The outside-inside combo with Filipowski, the unbelievable sharpshooting of one of the most talented freshmen in the entire country and one of the most talented freshmen left in this year's NCAA tournament, that has to be hitting on all cylinders for the Blue Devils. I mentioned Houston's intensity, Houston's toughness, Houston's physicality. One of the few things that can overcome all of that is incredibly high-level skill. And Kyle Filipowski has incredibly high-level skill in a 7-foot body. Jared McCain has incredibly high-level skill in the body of a really good rebounding 6'4" wing player who has as sweet a stroke as maybe anybody almost in college basketball. The Cougars are really good. There's no doubt about it. And oh, by the way, whereas Houston is used to some lower scoring, grinded out games because of the way they play defense, Duke is only 2-7 in games this season decided by 7 or fewer points. So can the Devils turn that frown upside down if this ends up being a close game? We shall see. But it's not only Jamal Shead for the Cougars. Since we around here know more about the Duke rotation than the Houston rotation, just a couple of tidbits about the Cougars' key players. Shead is just insanely good. 3-year starter for the Cougars. He is more of a driver and a distributor and a defender than he is a shooter. He's only about 31% from three-point land, but he does everything else. His sidekick is former Baylor guard L.J. Cryer. He started for the Bears last year at Baylor. Now he's a starter for the Houston Cougars of Kelvin Sampson, and he's almost a 40% three-point shooter. He was second-team All-Big 12. His sidekick, Jamal Shead, the superstar, was first-team All-Big 12, of course, along with Player of the Year. The Cougars also have a 2-year starter who's a 5th-year senior in Jawan Roberts, third-team All-Big 12. And remember, that was a really good league this year, maybe the best league in America when you look at it from top to bottom. The Cougars also have a redshirt sophomore guard, honorable mention All-Big 12, named Emmanuel Sharp, and a junior forward named Javier Francis, honorable mention All-Big 12. So all 5 starters at Houston made either the first, second, third team, or honorable mention All-Big 12, and most of them have multiple years of starting experience. Emmanuel Sharp, by the way, just had 30 points. He was the 5th starter I mentioned. He had 30 points, including 7 out of 14 threes in that overtime victory over Texas A&M. So he's close to 40% on threes. L.J. Cryer is close to 40% on threes. You got to watch those guys from the perimeter. Obviously, that elite Houston defense does have to deal with an elite Duke offense that was the best in the ACC during conference play. The Blue Devils have that 7-footer who can initiate from the perimeter or catch the ball down low, which is something you don't see every day, even in the Big 12 or anywhere else not named the NBA. The Blue Devils have one of the most talented freshmen in the country in Jared McCain. We mentioned those 8 3-point conversions in the rout of James Madison, but they also have that senior point guard, Jeremy Roach. He was an all-ACC player, and deservedly so, and he was an incredibly reliable, and I mean as consistent as they come, player and shooter all season before he hit those weird rough patches on his senior night against Carolina in the Duke home loss to the Tar Heels, and then again up in D.C. as the Devils lost to NC State. Jeremy Roach has played better in this NCAA tournament. I don't know if he's back to his old self entirely, but he's definitely played better after that rough patch. Of the 16 teams remaining in this NCAA tournament, Mike, only Purdue hits threes at a better rate than this Duke team. Devils as a team are 38%. Purdue's actually at 41%. And we know part of Purdue's success from the perimeter is because defenses are so focused on Zach Edey inside. Roach is still at 44% for the season, which is a great number. McCain is now at 42%, which is a great number. Proctor is at 37%. and just had a big game offensively. Filipowski doesn't shoot as much as he did earlier this season from beyond the arc, but he's at 35%, which is good enough that defenses have to care about that. It's a shame that the Devils won't have their injured freshman guard, Caleb Foster. He's another 40+% three-point shooter. He was a valuable sixth man for the Devils. Obviously, they announced before the tournament that he wouldn't be able to play because of an injury during March Madness. Right now, Duke has no idea what it's going to get from its bench of Sean Stewart, Jalen Blakes, and Ryan Young. Houston, in closing, has lost only 4 times this season. 2 of those were to Iowa State, which might be the best defensive team in the entire country. The Cougars also, Duke fans should look for the Cougars to try to play at a very slow pace. They have good offensive numbers at Houston, but they can get bogged down offensively at times. We've even seen a little bit of that here down the stretch of the regular season. The huge question in the end, can this Duke team play that kind of defense that it needs to play to beat Houston? These Devils have been way better offensively this season than, I'd argue, the best in the ACC in a lot of different ways. Their defense can be very good at Duke, but this has not been a great defensive team by Duke standards. The Devils must know where LJ Cryer is, know where Emmanuel Sharp are at all times beyond the arc. They have to come up with a plan for Jamal Shed, who, again, while not an elite shooter, is just a headache to defend because of his strength and athleticism and penetrating skills. They're the only 2 pure shooters the Cougars have, though, Cryer and Sharp. Know your personnel. John Shire needs his guys to pay astute attention to their game plan. They're capable, even as an underdog in this one. Last I saw, Duke was a 4-point underdog to the Houston Cougars. They're capable of beating the Houston Cougars. The defense at Houston is absolutely real. The Cougars' offense can show some weak spots and weak links and vulnerability. Duke's going to have to play better defense than it played for part of this season if it's going to exploit one of the few weak links in the Houston chain, if you will. And finally, since you mentioned Kelvin Sampson, just quickly on him, he was born in the Lumbee Native American community of Deep Branch in Robeson County, North Carolina. He is also a graduate, shout out to UNC Pembroke, where Coach Sampson played both basketball and baseball for the Braves. He also just accepted this year's Henry Iba Award as the 2024 National Coach of the Year in men's basketball. For those who have forgotten, Kelvin Sampson can flat out coach, man. He took Oklahoma to the Final Four back in 2002. This is his 5th straight Sweet 16 with the Houston Cougars, and that stretch of 5 years has included the Cougars' trip to the 2021 Final Four, where they did lose to the eventual national champion Baylor in the national semifinals. John Shire, remember, is only in his 2nd year with the Blue Devils, but he's already won an ACC title last year in his first season with Duke as the head coach. He's already won a national championship as a player, of course, back in 2010 for Coach K. But he's also already made now his first Sweet 16 as well. So Coach Shire needs to be at his best, and that Duke defense, physicality, intensity needs to be the way we saw it for much of the Mike Krzyzewski era if the Blue Devils are going to figure out a way to beat a really hard-to-beat number 1 seed Houston Cougars team in Dallas on Friday night.
This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same page. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down.